Hello, good evening, and welcome everybody to the fourth in our series of AmCham Sri Lanka webinars. Today we're talking actually in part two of our two-part webinar with relation to positive positioning. It's all about marketing, communication, and branding. So yesterday we had part one, the first session, which was an interesting one and had many insights and many interesting and knowledge insights that we were able to share with our viewers. And today is part two of that. And I'm privileged and happy to be here this evening. And I'm really grateful to every single one of you who's taken time on this Friday evening to spend some time with us and to gain some valuable insights from our exciting panel. As you know, at AmCham Sri Lanka, we've created this series of Knowledge Hub, Knowledge Share webinars, and we aim to look at issues that are impactful and immediately relevant to you, so that we can all work together in getting past and getting through this current COVID crisis, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. It is not a sectoral, it is not a national, it is not a regional crisis, it is a global crisis. And together, we can definitely get through it. So without further ado, let me introduce your panel for this evening's session, the session on making the magic happen in terms of positive positioning. We have with us this evening Sanjeev. Sanjeev is the Managing Director and CEO of Fairfirst Insurance, part of the global Fairfax Group, a leading property and casualty insurer, reinsurer, and investment. I beg your pardon, give me just a moment to get back on there. There we are. So Sanjeev is Managing Director of Fairfirst Insurance, part of the global Fairfax Group. Sanjeev has rich experience in financial services and insurance. His direct work experience extends across markets in Asia, Middle East, and the global reinsurance markets. And during his many years of experience, he has built a reputation for achieving successful turnarounds in business and in delivering efficient mergers and acquisitions. Sanjeev is a Fulbright Scholar in Management from the Carnegie Mellon University, Pittsburgh, and a PhD in Economics from Mumbai University. And as his bio says, and this is what excites me most about having this conversation with you today, Sanjeev, he continues to get excited by the promise of technology and the potential of humanity. Welcome, Sanjeev, to the panel.
Thank you so much. Look forward, right?
Iroshini Wijenayake, General Manager, Group Marketing and Communications at Ideal Group Sri Lanka, is both a friend and colleague, and she's an accomplished senior marketing professional with over 15 years of progressive experience across multiple industries. Iroshini excels in strategic planning, business development, and in creating powerful and innovative plans that drive bottom line, with proven success in identifying issues and managing projects. Iroshini's most recently was awarded the title of one of the most influential global marketing leaders 2019 by the World Marketing Congress. Hi, Iroshini, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Trinity Lion, national record holder and SAF medalist swimmer, now turned marketeer, Chetiya Wijerathne, Assistant Vice President of South Asian Technologies, counts close to 15 years in IT services and cybersecurity as a marketeer. A passionate outdoorsman, Chetiya leverages his personal interests and passions to complement his role as a successful marketeer across markets in Sri Lanka, the Maldives, Nepal, where in fact he was when the country was hit by one of nature's greatest furies, the 7.8 magnitude earthquake in 2015, and of course, Bangladesh. Chetiya excels in building and nurturing client relationships, brand loyalty, and brand equity, and leads South Asian Technologies' new product tie-ups, marketing and sales of a diverse portfolio of leading ICT brands such as Checkpoint, McAfee, Commvault, Kaspersky, as well as many more, of which SAT is the master distributor. Hi, Chetiya, welcome on board.
Thanks, Rai. Thanks for having me.
And now, of course, your moderator for this evening's session, marketing evangelist, fellow of SIM UK, chartered marketeer, certified professional marketeer, Asia Pacific, and holder of multiple related degrees and qualifications, now reading for his DBA, marketing guru Lewie Diasz. Lewie is Managing Director of Cambridge College of Business and Management and is a senior tutor of over 17 years. He is widely recognized for strategic marketing and business strategy and has produced many world and Sri Lankan prize-winning students for SIM UK. Lewie is the author of the book Strategic Marketing, Marketing Strategies for Sri Lankan Business Entities, and Marketing and Business Strategy 2017, one of the most sought after texts in marketing education in Sri Lanka right now, and was recognized by the Echelon magazine as a top thought leader in the top 40 under 40 ranking edition of the magazine. Lewie's corporate experience includes American Express, John Keel's Group, Nations Trust Bank, and Cargill's Bank before he decided to become a full-time marketing evangelist and educator. And he was also formerly the vice president of the Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, your esteemed panel for this evening that will provide you with their cumulative experience and analysis insights into our focus message, which is the necessity to build brand loyalty and brand equity in order to survive and thrive. The key touch points that we'll be discussing today, and we've discussed this just before we started on this webinar, is revisiting the fundamentals of marketing, the differentiation between MarCom and BrandCom, empowering your communications through evidence-based data, innovation, adaptation, and adaptation, of course, and nurturing your network to build brand loyalty. I'm sorry, I think I need to get a glass of water because my words seem to be rolling into each other. So I will do that. I am your host and facilitator for this evening, Rai Raymond, General Manager ED of the American Chamber of Commerce. Lewie, over to you.
Thanks, Rai. It has been a privilege to be a part of this session, and I wish to thank AmCham for bringing this wonderful panel together from various industries. We have a CEO from the insurance industry with vast experience. We have a CMO who's had plenty of experience, managing brands. And then we also have a CIO and a business development general manager who will share his thoughts as well. And I'd like to bring in the entrepreneurial twist into our discussion today with this C-suite panel that we have. So let's start off our discussion, and let me start by adding something to the topic. You've discussed how marketing has changed and evolved between what was the pre-era of COVID-19 and what we're experiencing now and possibly after COVID-19. Now, I'd like to share with you some changes that we have seen and we have adapted to in the education industry. Fundamentally, we've seen this coming for many years. You see, marketing had its own inflection point. Marketing as a profession, as a career, as a function, had to get disrupted at some point. And it is happening right now. So you have what we call traditional marketing that many companies practice. You have what we call the tried and tested marketing methods. And then you have the contemporary digital marketing methods that most organizations are embracing at present. So I'd like to, talk about both of these. And today, in the education industry, today we've seen, even as this pandemic hit us, and it caught all of us by surprise. It was in no scenario plan of any big company. And all of us had to learn what it is and adapt fast. And one of the things that we did early on was to embrace online delivery. So we had to move from brick and mortar classroom teaching to online delivery. And I can tell you, as one of the earliest people who embraced that, there were lots in the industry who actually approached me and asked me, how do we also do it? And I took them through that. So that has actually been a blessing in disguise, because today I can tell you, if we had the traditional classroom, we would not be able to accommodate the number of students who have started to study post the crisis of COVID-19. So one industry that has benefited from all this has been the education industry, because everyone's online, everyone's trying to learn something, use their time appropriately. Now, what do we do as an organization? We have also managed to embrace these new technologies that we see in marketing. And one thing that I've been trying to do for the longest time is to bring in a digital layering in our organization, to bring in that digital cover and digitalize our processes. And we've not been able to do that because we've been busy firefighting and doing so many other things. But this has given us enough time. And I can tell you, in the past 2 months, we've launched things that we could never imagine we could do, thanks to having time and thanks to reevaluating, being forced to reevaluate ourselves. So we've launched Google Classroom, which is an interactive LMS, learning management platform. We've launched SEM because everyone's online, so search engine marketing. So we've fixed our funnel where we bring in all the offline and online customers into our website, and then we do what we call search engine through search engine marketing, and then we do what we call conversion rate optimization. How do we get customers to consume our product and buy our product online? And that has been a huge challenge. And I can tell you, with everything that we've seen so far, we have seen lots of customers, right, paying online, learning online, and not only that, very soon they'll be passing online as well. So how do you tweak your business model? We had to tweak our business model. We had to change our suite of products. We had to sort of model ourselves, change our business strategies to fit the new consumer. Today, we're talking about a consumer that would demand to be treated and to be considered as a segment of one, So today, companies are challenged. How do we understand unit economics? How do we understand and personalize and provide that personal touch to our consumers? And we are forced to do that, and consumers are enjoying it. It's a new normal. So the segment of one and unit economics is here to stay. And I can tell you something that really helped us during the crisis, and then I'll pass on to some of them experts to share their industry views. One thing that we've been trying to do all this time is to try and bring in entertainment into education, right? Because that's edutainment. So you can intellectually stimulate everyone, but how do you bring about entertainment? Now, you can't keep organizing beach party after beach party. So we were trying to figure out how to do this. And this has given us a brilliant opportunity because we managed to get the best entertainers, the best performers to come online and to sing 3 songs after every single class free of charge. And they are obliging. They're the best entertainers in Sri Lanka. And they are singing and entertaining our students. What a wonderful experience. And that's getting viral. That's giving us digital mileage. And we've now figured out that this is an opportunity for us to leverage. So I'd like to stop there. And in conclusion, traditional marketing versus new age marketing. We need to embrace contemporary digital technologies and leverage and use this opportunity and grab this opportunity and tweak our products and services to reflect that. With this in mind, I'd like to invite Iroshini, who's the General Manager, Group Marketing Communications for Ideal Group Sri Lanka, to enlighten us, to tell us about your industry. How have you seen customer loyalty and brand loyalty, and how have you seen marketing communications evolve post-COVID-19? Iroshini?
Yeah. So thanks, Lewie. So good evening. And like you said, while business has to continue, there will be some sectors which are less challenged and some sectors would be more challenged, such as the auto industry. And prior to this pandemic also, we had seen certain changes taking place in the auto sector, such as driverless cars and electric vehicles shaking up the industry. So with this pandemic, the auto industry adapting to difficult times, sometimes I feel may not be totally challenging. But however, like you correctly said, Lewie, we have seen some behavioral trends changing completely, and also shifting from the traditional marketing to the non-traditional. So let me just highlight few of these, which actually in relation to the industry I work for. So one is how it has accelerated, I would say, would be one is the car ownership. And like we find like people finding comfort in car ownership because they prefer traveling in their own vehicle right now than actually using public transport. So as per a study actually done by Ipsos in China and also in the US, that it shows in the study that it's very clear that people's attitudes to own their own, own or rather use their personal vehicle has really increased. And also another trend is buying their own vehicle and therefore searching on digital if they're able to get some value addition. Say, for example, in the US, the Hyundai had a #1 ad on the 30th of March, which was basically what they communicated was the Hyundai Assurance, which is a program that covers payments up to 6 months in the event the buyer loses his job during this year, during the COVID. So locally too, there are some finance companies working on special packages for customers on these lines. The other one I would like to also highlight would be the dealer experience, which customers actually demand, as you said, closer to home. So, for example, the customer in the auto industry, they would demand the home test drives, product review videos, digital showrooms, virtual reality test drives, and video conferencing, to name a few. And we see that locally, few brands have already commenced this operation, taking the vehicle for demos and test drives to the customer, instead of the customer actually walking into the showrooms in this limited time, So another one is people wanting online car buying and at-home delivery. So in a study done in the US and in Canada, people have responded that if they have the online purchase available, they would definitely purchase a vehicle sooner. So basically you buy the vehicle online and then you get it delivered to your home. So in the local context also, home delivery in the auto industry took place even before the pandemic. However, some brands in addition to that during this time have included online orders of spare parts, home deliveries of the spare parts, all that has started in the industry. Finally, I would say like as the fifth point would be the auto shows in the industry, and conferencing be key annual events for the auto industry, because we do a lot of model launches to new brands and stuff, introductions happening at these events. And due to this pandemic situation, either they are postponed or basically cancelled. So we see some models actually being launched online, which is a radical shift, as I see, in the industry, which is used to launch events. For example, Hyundai in the US unveiled their 2021 Elantra model in early March this year through a live stream, and the local Vega brand also implemented a similar activity. So I feel we can easily adapt this kind of, online live streaming launch events, because we have quite talented, creative professionals and event management companies in Sri Lanka also. So what I would like to say is, while this auto sector is being it's a single decentralized channel where importer imports the vehicles, or the brand rather, and the manufacturer or the dealer sells it to the end customer. So currently we see many brands shifting completely towards digital platforms, both globally and locally, Lewie, as you said, from traditional to online, I would say.
All right, that's fantastic. So you see that products such as yours, selling automotive products as well as cars, you would need to adapt given the times, and that's what I'm reading from what you're saying. And you need to move from a more product push, a marketing strategy, to more brand focused, loyalty focused, a positive kind of strategy to build your identity and your corporate reputation. So that's very interesting. And to add to that, I'd like to invite Sanjeev, who's a CEO at Fairfirst Insurance, to take us through his thoughts on what the insurance industry is going through, and what kind of insights do you have generating from perhaps data that you would build your strategies on?
Yeah, brilliant, Louis. Thank you so much for that introduction. Just a small correction. I'm the CEO of Fairfirst Insurance. Fairfax is our group, and which is based out of Toronto, and it's a much bigger entity than I could ever aspire to be a CEO of. So, but anyway, it's a pleasure to be here, and so impressed with things that you said, Louis. I think the unit of one is something that resonates really well with me, and I think that's something that we are seeing in the insurance industry also, and I'll talk about that. And I think the same thing with Iroshini, your thing about the auto industry going through a dramatic change, and while there's some elements of the demand being there, but the shape of the demand is changing. Again, something that we are seeing in the insurance industry. So what I have for you guys is just a few slides that I'd like to share. But before I request Rai to share that, again, a caveat, I'm not a marketing guru. You guys are all marketing gurus. I'm just a simple CEO who runs a company. But I get excited and I get very thrilled when I see some of the magic that you marketeers do. And that's really that's something really that I think is going to play a bigger and more important role in this era of C19. So Rai, if you can share the slides, please. So I'm going to tell you about this character. I don't know how many of you can recognize this unique character who's also known as Fox. And I think when C19 started, we all felt a similar emotion of saying that, oh God, what is this happening? And then we were quite worried. But very quickly in the last 60 days, yes, it has been 60 days now. In the last 60 days, I think all of us are finding our way around. So just to remind all of us, I think many of you would know Fox, but those who don't know Fox, he is a character from J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series. Fox is a phoenix. He's a great friend of Dumbledore, who was the principal of Hogwarts. He's a great defender of Dumbledore. He helped Harry Potter beat the Basilisk in one of the movies that was there, whatever that movie was. So he's an amazing bird. And one of the magic that the phoenix does is on the next slide. So Rai, if you go to the next slide and just play that small clip, you can play this clip.
Fox is the phoenix, Harry. They burst into flame when it is time for them to die.
So that's the bird coming alive. And that is what is happening, I think, in all our industries. Because of this pandemic, the shape of demand, the shape of consumer preference has gone for a toss. And that is forcing all of us to really throw away things that we had from the past, things that we had been very comfortable in doing. We are being forced to throw those away things. We have been forced to burn them off and reinvent the way we work now. So insurance is a very physical game, or it had been a very physical game. The sales process was driven by agents classically. So the agents used to go to the prospect's home, meet the prospect, shake hands with them, take them out for a drink, and do the sale. Very physical. If there was a claim, again, a very physical process where the claim happened, the claim assessor goes physically there, claim is assessed, and then the payment or the negotiation happens, the claimant comes to the office, sort of physical movements. And same thing with all the other cycles. Post the C19, what has clearly happened is that no one wants to go and visit anyone. No one wants to shake hands. And that really forced a lot of changes. The biggest impact it's had really is on our sales process. So if you go to the next slide, so our agents whose entire bread and butter comes from is on a variable income, so they get commissions. Now suddenly with C19, they can't go out. They're scared of their own lives, and they're scared of, if they don't go out, they're scared of their livelihood. They can't go out, they can't sell, because the way they were selling was really meeting the person, looking the person eye to eye, doing the classical sales game of the body language and all those things, and trying to convince. Now they can't do that. So this entire breed, and I'm not talking about Fairfirst only, I'm talking globally, this entire breed of insurance agent was absolutely paralyzed by when this pandemic happened. Now the good thing is that this is when the our MarCom, the marketing guys stepped in. Next slide, right, please. So these guys came in, our marketing guys came in and looked at the data, looked at the information that was being thrown at them by our own agents, by our own salespeople, and also by the industry, and said, okay, like how can we use technology? How can we use some of the sophistication? How can we use some of the smartness that the marketeers have and help this entire breed of professionals, of insurance salesmen, overcome the C19? So what we did, we typically do, right, is we follow the design thinking process, and very quickly it has 5 core elements. I'm sure you guys are all aware of it. It starts with a bag full of empathy, and that's what we did. We looked at the situation with a bucket full of empathy and saying that, okay, there are people hurting, and there are people hurting for a very classic dilemma that if they go out, their lives may be impacted. If they don't go out, their livelihood is impacted. So it's a serious problem. So let's really start off with this, looking at the data, seeing everything and say, okay, there is a problem. And the problem is that our colleagues can't go out and do business. So then we went to the next stage of defining the problem, and which is in the next slide, right? So defining is that, okay, now what do we do? So the classical sales process that was there has to change, and that's what we had to do. So we said, okay, let's define the problem as finding a new sales process in this post C19 era. And then we move on to the stage of ideation. Now, the beauty of this stage of ideation, again, if you guys follow the design thinking, is it is a judgment-free zone. No ideas are bad. And it just ideas are thrown in. Our marketing, our distribution, and our sales guys got involved. We had different focus groups, all virtually, all through Zoom or through Microsoft Teams. A lot of engagement happened, a lot of ideas were thrown, and then we moved into a prototype. And the prototype was a very simple one, right? It's a next slide. And this is where your unit of one really resonated with me, Lewie. What the salespeople were getting was a one little poster, one little Facebook page, which was same for every salesperson. They didn't like that. They wanted to bespoke it. They wanted to do it something unique for themselves. They wanted to talk in their language. They didn't want an English thing. So we made this prototype by which each individual could actually use 70% of the content that was common, that was created by the marketeers, but then bespoke the individual elements that they were keen on. And through this, we tested it out and we launched it, and finally we are running with it. That's the last stage of design thinking, where we are running with it, and it's been quite positive, because in the last 3 weeks that we've been doing it, more than 5,000 engagements have happened through this. In March, our sales performance was abysmal because the second half of March was absolutely dead. In April, there was a pickup. Very happy to share that in May, nearly 75% of our sales guys are hitting their new business target using all these techniques. So magic is happening. Again, just finishing it off. It's a very simple tool. If you go to the next slide, right? It's a very simple tool where the individual salesman can, we created an electronic platform where they can log in and they can create their language preference. They can choose the product that they want to sell. They can put their name there. So it's like a customized auto signature sort of a thing. And that goes out to them as an image, and then they can shoot that off through WhatsApp or whatever you have it across their prospect list. And that has been the magic. So I'm going to end again with a small little clip from the same Harry Potter movie, if that's okay, where the magic happens.
Amazing! This is just like magic!
All right, Sanjeev, thank you so much. It was very insightful, and it's very nice to see a CEO looking through a process, a marketing process, the design thinking process, which tells us that people are revisiting, right? Corporate executives are revisiting some of the fundamentals, in business, and that's great for us to go back and to rethink and to redevelop and to engage everyone in this process. And, I'd like to get Chetiya's views. Chetiya is the VP in SAT. He's a technical guy turned marketer. And Chetiya, could you tell us a little bit about your products in terms of your industry? And could you tell us how you would reinvent yourself given the challenges of consumer demand as well as new product development?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Louis. And we also, I mean, the panelists spoke about heavily using digital and I mean your digital channels to actually get to your customers and deliver your services. So obviously, being from ITS, cybersecurity background, that opens up a lot of opportunities for us. But how you capital, because the opportunity has arisen because of a crisis, right? So how you capitalize on this opportunity actually defines your company. If you exploit your customers now, that becomes a huge problem, and it brings a lot of negative brand equity, or that's what I would like to call it. So, I mean, the IT industry is doing well, but what about the other industries? Is it doom and gloom for everybody else? I don't think so, right? I don't think that it's doom and gloom. There's a silver lining for other industries as well. But let me take some examples. I mean, companies like ODoc. ODoc is a simple, what do you call it, a doctor consultation platform, okay, which helps you remotely consult your doctor. As soon as this happened, I mean, the curfew was imposed, it really opened the market for companies like ODoc. They could have really gone and marketed their product out. But they really looked and they saw that, you know, people who were going to the state hospitals and consulting doctors also didn't have a way to go. So they didn't really market their product to their target market or their demographic. What they did was they took this product, took it to the government, okay, got their the government doctors onboarded, and gave this platform free of charge for anybody to use. Just imagine, they didn't want to make that quick buck now. I know there's opportunity in IT as well, but I mean, it's about setting a platform for you to come out stronger post-COVID-19 than actually making a quick buck now. Let me take another example for, the big retail giants in Sri Lanka, right? The places where you and I normally go and shop week in, week out. I mean, as soon as this happened, they were scrambling to get their order loading and their delivery channels in place. And some companies, Lasana Flora, I mean, if I want to name them, they are predominantly a florist, but actually they saw the needs and the necessities, as all our panelists said, changed. So what they decided was, listen, the needs and necessities of my consumers have changed. I am going to try and deliver groceries. And they did it. And a simple florist became a fully fledged e-marketing platform within a span of a week. I'm sure nobody at Lasana Flora thought that was possible, right? So there are a lot of positives taking IT as an enabler for a lot of industries. So it's a time for us. It's a time for us to revisit, re-strategize, and reset, and come out strong and use this as a springboard to come out stronger post-COVID-19.
I think that's a very interesting point. That's a very interesting point you're raising. And I'd like to get Iroshini's views. Iroshini, you know, Chetiya is talking about a responsibility. Chetiya is talking about doing things right, not exploiting the situation, but being smart and adding value to your customers, adding true, genuine value to your customers. So, Iroshini, would you mind telling us, you're selling a product that is a non-essential, right? I don't know if you would agree to that, but it is a product that you wouldn't need for your day-to-day needs, right? You wouldn't go car shopping or perhaps condo shopping or doing up your swimming pool in times like this. How do you overcome that? How would you overcome the product push approach to marketing versus, using your brand and garnering loyalty from your customers?
So we did see some demand even during the curfew and during this time and even now. And what we actually created, we created certain platforms digitally and also going to the customer, as opposed to the customer coming to the showroom and actually that touch and feel and the driving experience at the showroom not happening. So even today, I would like to say that there were some actually vehicles, commercial vehicles, even though we feel, or you mentioned about a non-essential, there have been certain buyers, I think they must be seeing when it comes to commercial vehicles, even the deliveries. Getting into certain businesses. So we are getting into the passenger segment. I mean, we have quite a few, confirmed orders, which we will be also dispatching soon. So, what I felt was that we as a company, we keep innovating. We come, our leadership is our chairman, a visionary, wanting to always innovate and think out of the box and also positively adapt to the situation, because as I feel, I don't think this is going to stop at any point. We don't know. So I think what we need to do is, what I feel is, look at the strategy, work accordingly, look at the buyer behavior, and serve the customer, go to the customer more or less, but however not to lose the brand identity. So I think in during this time, in keeping the brand values is very important. Even though you do very tactical stuff and pushing sales online, you still have to maintain your brand identity and your position in the market to create that loyalty, is what I believe.
Fantastic, right. So demand. There's been some kind of demand for certain product categories in your portfolio, which is great. Sanjeev, would you like to add to that and perhaps tell us, as a CEO, have you revisited what you're good at? Have you revisited your unique resources that you have in your organization and tried and looked for opportunities to reconfigure them? Is that something that you looked at doing?
Yes, I think very much so. And again, goes back to the same philosophy that runs through our organization, which is about design thinking and starting with any change with a bucket full of empathy. So very similar to, in fact, it's interesting, Chetiya mentioned about ODOC, because we have tied up with them. And what we realize is that many of our insured may not be comfortable going for a physical checkup. So we've tied up with them. We've also tied up with companies like HealthNet for providing drugs or pharmas at their home, with now Lanka for doing diagnostic at home. We've extended the payment terms for our clients, understanding that they will not be able to come and make these payments, or we're exploring very, very significantly, and we've done quite a lot in terms of making enabling payments through different e-wallets and all those various things. So clearly, I think as a brand, very, very conscious that if our brand is about making it easier for the consumers, is basically about saying that, how do we make it easier for them today? 3 months back, the making it easier was, I will send my agent to your home. 3 months back was that I will send my motor assessor, in case you have a claim, I'll send my motor assessor to your accident site within 45 minutes. That was a great promise. Now he's saying, no, that those days are gone. So now we say, okay, we're going to enable your smartphone or your phone to do your own claim assessment. So we're able to settle the claims in like 3 minutes, which is quite powerful. So I think that what you're saying is absolutely right. I think each of these, and I don't think this happened. This has suddenly changed, happening only after C19. I think active brands were always doing these things. We were always fairly active in making improvements. But what C19 has done, and I think you mentioned it, has really forced us in the momentum of change. And I just want to add a link on this. Like, while marketing and smartness is important, I think what really is coming to the forefront of organization, whether it's your organization where you become where you move from a physical classroom to a digital classroom, I think the culture of the organization is so important at this time. Because if the culture is about innovation, if the culture is about smartness, if the culture is about testing out things, the culture is about data, I think those companies are going to really thrive. If the culture is about protocols and rules and looking back in the past, those companies are going to struggle big time. So I think the old thing has to be thrown away, really burnt out, and very, very consciously move towards the future.
Thank you very much, Chetiya. is it a blessing in disguise? Is this whole thing a blessing in disguise? Have you sat down with your senior team, and are you looking at also opportunities? Whilst we have the philosophical view of soul searching and planting trees and going back into visiting some of the fundamentals in our business, whilst all that is there, which is important, right? Have you also looked at your product mix, and how do we reinvent our business model? Is that something that you can share something on?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, we have been fast-tracked. I mean, definitely fast-tracked. I mean, everybody was going towards digitization and using our channels a little bit more. But now everybody has been forced, like your consumer has been forced to use that. And because of that, obviously the adoption is much greater. But saying that, yes, we have gone back and looked at our product mix, our products, what we're selling, the ways we actually give it to our customers, and also the pricing models. Those days it was a simple, yearly thing, but now we are giving it more on OpEx, because most of the companies are cash stricken. And what we are also trying to do is educate our customers about going on this digital journey, okay, and hand-holding them and getting them up to speed. And maybe first 3 months, 6 months, sometimes, we let them use the services for free. I mean, I know Microsoft Teams has done it, right? So they're getting people on platforms, and that is going to make it easier at this point for companies to actually adopt these technologies in a cash-stricken environment at the moment.
So have we seen, this questions to anyone on the panel, have we now seen a new trend of the shift of bargaining power towards the customer as opposed to the companies? Have we seen that in your industry? Have we seen that the shift has moved towards the customer's bargaining power increased, and therefore companies need to look at adding value and being relevant? I'd like to ask this question from anyone in the panel. Sanjeev, perhaps.
Okay, I'll go first here. So I think the customer always had immense power, and one tweet of an angry customer can make us shake, say, in a CEO's chamber. So the power of customers is immense. I think what we are now facing today is a consumer whose own prospects and thinking about the future is a bit pessimistic. So the ability for the consumers to spend money, the consumer is really checking each item. Should I spend it on this item now? And that's so it's become much more challenging than the earlier good old days where the economy was thriving, and then the question was really, do I buy do I go on vacation to Europe, or do I go somewhere else? Like, it was a very different challenge. But now it's becoming like, where do I keep my funds in? Should I spend now? Should I not spend now? So therefore, the power of consumer has definitely become much more, because we are trying to grab from the same limited salary that the individual has. So definitely and all of us, whether it is an auto guy, whether it is an insurance guy, our categories have got blurred, because the consumer is now choosing between these different categories and saying, what is important for me now? Earlier he could choose from each category, So I think that's the first thing that has happened. But having said that, I think it again goes back to the to the brands and how they're going to react to it. For example, if I look at the employees also as a consumer of a company, now work from home has become such a necessity now. If organizations don't provide that work from home facility in a convenient, comfortable, stress-free, mentally comfortable position, those companies are going to struggle. Now that is clearly a demand that has shifted because the employees don't want to come to a physical office, necessarily so. But at the same time, there are challenges in the home. So they want an organization that can shape up. Same thing with the consumer. The consumer wants a very different thing, that they want like the entire fulfillment to happen in a very different way from the way it was happening earlier. So yes, I think that the entire, I don't know whether it's a power shifting or whether it's just the shape of demand has just changed dramatically. And that's where we guys are sort of grappling with.
But we've also seen a looming recession. globally. I mean, we have all data that points to that. We've seen the biggest rating agencies talking about a downturn in some of the biggest economies in the world. And are any of your industries impacted by a global recession? I'd like to pose that to the lady, Iroshini. Would you have any impact from a US market collapse or China, having another attack? We've seen a few other markets opened up, and they've also seen the numbers going up, including China and Germany. Iroshini, would that impact your supply chain and also impact your consumer?
So I wouldn't say the countries you mentioned, the US and those countries, we are not impacted as much because we work very much closely with our neighbor India. But of course, with the depreciation of the rupee, I think that is a concern because we do have an assembly plant as well as we do import vehicles. But either way, it's in the US dollar form that we need to pay back. So I think it's more the depreciation of the rupee that would impact on our business.
Right. Would you, Chetiya, would you like to comment? Would that have any impact? Not forgetting the monsoon rains that are potentially maybe even started right now, and after that, maybe a dengue outbreak. Would this impact business? Would it be a multi-pronged attack on us and your business?
Yeah, I mean, to go with Iroshini, what Iroshini was saying, most of the hardware devices and stuff like that for us come from China, right? So that's going to, affect our supply, right? But what the biggest challenge we have in our industry and selling locally is that everybody's cash stricken, right? Trying to finance this. And what we do is we in turn pay our principals by the US in bulk, and we have to give an OPEX model to our customers. So we are trying to rework that with these guys, because that's a huge challenge we see, because most of the companies are cash stricken and they don't want to spend. They have to spend, they want to, but they can't spend.
Yeah. Right. Sanjeev, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's no way that any of us can live in be sort of isolated from the recession and the economic collapse that is happening across the world. I think it's going to make an impact on all of us. But I think that the good thing is that in human beings will reshape. We will redesign. We will reinvent. We are like the phoenix. We'll get burnt and we'll come back again. And I think that's the power. Now, whether it's going to happen in 2 months, answer is no. Will it happen in 2 years? Answer is yes. And I think that's where the relevance of the brand really comes in. Companies that can reshape and move much quicker than the others will become the giants of tomorrow. So we will come back. There's no doubt about that. But in the short term, definitely we'll all be impacted. There is, I think, as Chetiya mentioned, there is a cash crunch, which is going to push purchases for a long time till it comes back to shape, and it's going to hurt us. Sorry.
All right. So thank you very much. So there's lots of questions coming in. Rai, could I take some of these questions now, or would you want to moderate that?
No, please go ahead, Lewie. It's over to you.
All right. So to the panel, there's one question that's coming through in terms of, okay, this one's for me. Online delivery versus traditional classroom teaching. How will this new normal impact traditional industries? Well, yeah, this has been a big challenge for companies to go and sit down with your IT teams, to go and sit down with also some of the young people in your organization, because they also know they're very digital savvy. Today you see Instagram broadcasts, Facebook broadcasts. Today you see lots of technology being used by the younger generation. So how do you get some of them ideas and relook at your enablers, walk through the journey of a customer, put yourself in the shoes of your customer who's sitting at home in his or her shorts with his or her family, not going out, not doing anything, just watching a couple of movies. And now what is he or she thinking? What is the customer thinking? And how can you be one of those considerations? You cannot push your product. You cannot underprice your product. How can you be one of those considerations that the customer would be thinking of? And digital gives us a huge opportunity, right? How to push that message in a very subtle way. Like what Chetiya said, it is not a message that you can push really hard, but in a subtle message, so that you be relevant and you be there, so that the customer would then visit your website and then be funneled through to one of your products. So that's a challenge that many companies need to. I spoke about that digital layering. That is very, very important. So we have a couple of questions coming in terms of agile marketing strategies and making your brand visible. I'd like to ask Iroshini, would you like to take on this question? How would you look through new marketing strategic options and making your brand visible?
So, like I said, we need to, as marketing people in the industry, we need to relook at the strategy based on the buying behavior of the customer. Because as you know, the customer's buying behavior patterns have changed, I think, across all industries. And I think deliveries or going to the customer has obviously, that's what the demand is all about. So brands need, like I said before, while we do this tactical online activities, we still need to keep in mind how we consciously keep building the brand in keeping the values, so that we do not lose the market position, and thereby we create that loyalty. Because I think that's the most important thing, also to understand how the customer shops and buys products, and is it online, going to them. So I think that's what's key.
All right. Sanjeev, there's a question for you from someone from the industry. I'm not too sure whether you can see it, but it says, I'm from your industry, Mr. Sanjeev. And as we know, we still have not got a guarantee regarding our premium. So what should the industry do about it? Or what should we do about it as an industry?
That's
I'm not too sure whether it's very relevant to your organization or the industry.
Neither am I. So I think what the question is saying, I think that what the question seems to be talking is that we're not sure if the consumer will pay us for the insurance product. So, or whether, because of the cash crunch that is happening. So normally the insurance product is given and the payment can happen over 60 days or 90 days. So I think there is a concern that there could be a bad debt emerging from this. The answer is yes. I think there's definitely a concern. There could be some defaults happening because of the recession that we've spoken about. But again, I think this is a point where, again, Chetiya mentioned about like how they used to have earlier annual billing and how they moved to a different level of billing. And I think, again, many of the companies, including us, are exploring ways of how do we break down into an annual, instead of paying an annual premium, can we break down into installment premium and work those out. So while the problem is there because of the recession, because of the C-19 impact, because of the economy going down, I think it's really up to us as brands to find a solution. But yes, there could be defaults coming up in the short term. I don't know whether that was a question, but I guess.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. So Chetiya, there's two questions I'd like to amalgamate. One that Intikab is asking about supermarkets going back to online sales, but it not really giving them the same amount of contribution that it would have if they were open. And do you suggest any specific approach
Sorry, I couldn't get that question. I couldn't hear you properly.
So there's two questions coming on delivery, using technologies for delivery, one of which is on supermarkets are delivering online, but still they've not been able to have the same amount of sale that they would have in a supermarket. And the second question, which is on the same lines, is will digital and doorstep delivery be a new normal post-COVID, or will this just be a passing fancy?
The thing is, all our consumers have been forced to change, right? Digital was there, delivery channels, I mean, these digital delivery channels were there. But our consumers were, organically shifting to this, right? But we have been fast-tracked. Okay, people who did not, go to the bank, used to go to the bank for everything, were forced to get online and do their banking, right? And they've gotten a taste for it. Yeah, obviously, there are going to be some who are going to go back to the bank, but there's obviously people who have tasted technology and the ease of it who's going to remain. So yes, there will be people, going back to their traditional ways of, their livelihoods, but there will be a lot shifting, right? There'll be lot shifting to IT or technology for their needs and their wants.
All right, Sanjeev, just one question.
Yeah.
In terms of, we're talking about the consumer, but in terms of the internal consumer, your staff, how have you prepared them towards positive positioning, towards bracing what's in store?
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So we've the challenge has been, Louis and all you guys, is that there's been no rule book written about how to manage in pandemic. There's been no MBA class that we've gone through. So I think all of us have been trying to use our common sense and try to find the best way. But again, we follow the design principle, thinking that empathy starts with empathy. We are employees ourselves, so we know what is happening. A couple of things we realize is that they don't want to come to, no one wants to come to office. You can't come to office. There's a curfew on, so you can't go out. So we have to work from home. So we enabled that. While many of our employees had laptops, we took some of the desktops from our offices and gave it home. We gave them routers, we gave them dongles, and we sort of set up the connectivity. We then thought about data packages because data was being consumed for office work. Then we started getting a feedback after a few weeks that people were actually working much more than they were working earlier, because there was a sort of a blurring happening between work and office, and there was a lot of excitement about Zoom meetings and MST meetings, so it was going crazy. So then we set in a protocol saying that no meetings will start before 10 a.m. and last meeting will be before 4 p.m. We set up a protocol that if it's a weekend, if it's a Friday, a day before weekend, all meetings will end at 1 p.m. So we just set up these protocols. We are very aware that all of us are going through a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress because of different reasons. So we have engaged with mental health professionals who've come and spoken to our employees through online meetings, giving them some chats about diet, about managing anxiety and isolation. One of the things that we did, again, it's not a rule book, but one of the things we did was that I conducted a town hall where I gave a sort of assurance that no one will be sacked because of this pandemic, at least for the foreseeable future. You'll still be sacked for bad work, but at least for the pandemic, there won't be sacking. So I think that took away a lot of anxiety. We are working on a protocol for work from home. I think we have a very clear vision, as one of the panelists mentioned. I think people have tried it out, and while some of them may go back to the old days, many will prefer to continue with the way it is. So we are working on a blueprint for an organization by which we hope that at least 50% of our employees will be able to work from home by next year. And not only our employees, but also our agents and customers. And then by 2022 or 2023, looking at nearly making it 100% enabled. So then you come to office only out of choice, whether you're a customer or an intermediary or an employee. I think bright employees will look for companies that give them that option of working from home now. I think very few employees will say that I want to work for a company that doesn't allow me an option to work from home. So again, it goes back to the brand. Again, it goes back to how do you throw away the old rule book and start doing things different. So yeah, but great question. I think there's a lot to be done. I think, there's a lot to be done.
All right, thank you so much. Iroshini, one final round of questions from all of you. And if you can keep it fairly brief, because we need to wrap up the session. Iroshini, I'd like to ask you, have you, as a CMO of a large organization, have you been forced to relook at the 4 Ps of marketing and to revisit your marketing mix now?
Yes, we are forced to, Lewie. We are forced to. I think we are all forced to. So like I said, looking at the buying behavior, we have started doing new things innovatively, thinking out of the box, going to the customer and obviously promotions. We did a lot of ground promotions, which we are unable to do. So we are completely online now. If you take the products we haven't really, changed the products itself, because we go with the commercial products still, the vehicles. Then pricing, also we haven't really changed there. Because we certain, as I said, with the rupee depreciation and the taxations and all that, so we haven't. So basically we have done a lot of changes. We have completely, stopped the traditional advertising and gone online. I think the auto sector never thought, we would go so much online, because the psyche of the customer is coming to the showroom, touching, feeling the vehicle, drive with the driving experience. So all that has basically changed. Definitely, we have relooked at, and we are relooking and, trying to make it better.
Thanks. Chetiya, final question to you too. Your products, I've seen them, they're fantastic brands and products and solutions, but have you thought of making them affordable? How would you use this opportunity to make it affordable? Would you be doing that as a strategy to your customer?
We are relooking. These products, most of these products come from the US, right? And there's a level of discounting we can go to, but what we're looking at is giving most of our customers time to look, feel, and use the product, because they need to use it now, right? They might not have the cash for it, but use it now. And also, we are trying to sell more subscription-based, like a monthly subscription-based, where companies don't have to spend a lot of OpEx. Even on a retail product, retail products like the Kaspersky solution we carry, which is, your antivirus you'd use on your laptop, or now the kids are online, so you would want to have something like that on. So you can buy that on a monthly model with the SLT if you want to. So we are giving that monthly option opposed to that annual option which we had before, and we are also giving the corporates time to get you. Time to use the product, get accustomed to it, and then actually purchase it.
All right, thank you so much. And Sanjeev, one final question to you. Is there something positive? Is there something positive in this whole episode? I'd like to end on a positive note.
Hey man, it's the phoenix. It's Fox. The phoenix. Phoenix is a classic myth that's been there from good old Greek legends. So we are in the process of burning some of the rubbish that we had collected, but we will come back. And I genuinely believe it's while of course there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of anxiety because of the health issues. I'm not so fussed on the economy, because I know the economy will bounce back. If we can take care of our employees, if we can take care of our families and friends, we have enough creative juice, we have enough optimism, we have enough bounce back in the next 12 to 18 months. So I think the future will only be brighter and much more cheerful. A great time to redesign and do things, man.
All right, that's fantastic. And let me tell you something. As an entrepreneur, I've shed my tie off the corporate sector now, And it's been 4 years that I've been an entrepreneur. And I can tell you, I've had so many of positive vibes of young people looking at embracing and selling and being an entrepreneur, which is fantastic because Sri Lanka needs it. We need a vibrant SME. We need entrepreneurs in this country to benefit, the economy. And I think that has been the biggest single opportunity that I have seen, mentoring some of these entrepreneurs who want to launch websites, who want a payment gateway, who want to sign up with a delivery company, and that is a huge opportunity, that I have personally seen. I'd like to summarize with that. Rai, I'd like to hand over the session to you with that summary.
Thank you, Lewie. Thank you for especially that roundup, which kind of covered everything that we were talking about. Sanjeev, Iroshini, Chetiya, thank you very much. Your insights were powerful. They made a big difference. We saw a lot of interesting questions come up. There were actually a few that we didn't get to, but the reason for that, and I keep reminding everybody at the end of our session, sometimes when the question comes in, it may be a little too elongated for us to dive deep into it in the time we have remaining. So that there was one question particularly for Sanjeev. So what I will do is I will forward that question to Sanjeev, and Sanjeev will, I hope, kindly agree to send us an email response on that, and we'll forward it across to the person who asked the question. As we were talking in the process, or as each of you were talking in the process of today's session, COVID-19 is here to stay. There's no doubt about it. The latest reports that are coming out from scientists across the USA, as well as the WHO, as well as the World Economic Forum, are basically saying that until an effective vaccine is found, this is going to be a question of waves, sort of like flu season, where we'll have good times and we'll have bad times, and it will just continue on. So not only in terms of product, not only in terms of marketing, not only in terms of business continuity, even in terms of our own personal lives, in terms of, if you were to go very, very basic, since we're on a marketing related conversation here, if you go to the basic concept, if you're looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's going to be based entirely on that lower rung. The first priority for everybody is going to be making sure that they're safe, that their loved ones are safe, and that those basic needs are met. So what are we going to do to change, to adapt, to adopt, to innovate in ways that we will protect ourselves and our loved ones? So that's going to kind of be the first step in everything. And as each of you were saying, Chetiya, Iroshini, you both mentioned brand loyalty being brand equity. I think it's absolutely essential. Also something that Chetiya mentioned was that it's not just companies having to, or businesses having to adapt now to the online or the digitization. We have, as consumers, have been forced to get digital as well. Another thing that you said was that having now tasted the convenience of online banking or online grocery shopping, yes, certainly there will be many of us who will go back out there, but some of us will just stick with this reality because it's so much easier. Another thing that we talked about was the work-life balance. It seems to have very much blurred over the period of the last, couple of months. But I can't really see that as a horrible thing or a bad thing, because it looks like as much as we may be working a little more than usual, and we may be but it's increased our productivity, but at the same time we're spending more time with our families, we're spending more time with our kids, and there's it seems to be that although the balance itself, or the traditional way of thinking of the work-life balance, may also be something that we have to relook at, because it seems like we're quite effectively embracing and balancing both, despite the additional hours and despite the additional challenges. Sanjeev, something you mentioned in terms of the work from home is something that I think a lot of companies will have to be looking at going forward, especially, companies like Twitter have announced that employees need not report back to the offices for, as long as they want. And I know there's several companies locally as well in our membership at AmCham who have been talking about it. We, in fact, as AmCham itself, have been talking about it and how practical it is. You also mentioned in the panel, it was also mentioned about people or organizations, as well as, of course, the national and global economy being cash strapped. So how do you reduce, on your expenditure and yet increase in terms or improve in terms of productivity and in terms of meeting your goals? So I think the whole, Sanjeev put it, I think, most succinctly throughout the old playbook. And it's all about a whole new playbook. And that is how the magic of marketing, the magic of communication is going to be entirely based on this brand new playbook. So again, thank you to each of our panelists. Your insights, your time, your knowledge has been invaluable. I know that each of our attendees has gained a lot from this. To anyone who logged in partway or missed part of the conversation, or I think we may have had a few technical glitches here and there where we had bandwidth issues, don't worry, the recording will be up on our YouTube channel soon. Our YouTube channel is new, so please do go check it out, subscribe, and give us a little bit of love on that end as well. Next week, we'll be talking actually about two key things that are currently, as you know, we announce our webinars on Monday morning because we try to wait till the end of the week to see what is the most relevant and most impactful issue that week, which is what we'd like to do. So over the weekend, we'll make touch base with all our panelists, and on Monday we will announce it. But the likelihood is that next week we'll be talking about the new work from home era, gig economies, how it's going to impact in terms of gig workers, and also a sort of a negative aspect of it, if you will. How is this going to impact the real estate market in Sri Lanka? Because rentals for office space and rentals for companies is one of the biggest income earners for Sri Lankans, especially in urban areas. So we'll look at all of these things next week. We hope you will join us, and we look forward to that. As usual, from the AmCham team, standard message: stay safe, stay healthy, and please do stay home if you don't need to go out. Have a wonderful evening. Have a blessed weekend. Thank you, and God bless to each and every one of you.